Hello. I am here today with one purpose and one purpose only. Besides apologizing for perhaps my voice is a little bit too rough. Has been those type of days. It's cold, it's hot, gets weird every time, right? Like we're in that intermediate point of the seasons, I guess. Where you just have to do whatever you can, right? To pull through another week. Welcome all to another casual conversation with me, your friends, your friend Carlz. When I take a previous episode I recorded in Spanish and I try to make it make sense in English, which today makes. I mean, it could be a little bit of a challenge, but not necessarily, because I'm gonna talk about a movie which I love and which has given me this thought, this conspirational, yeah, that's a conspiracy thought, right? I think we've been duped, we've been fooled by this conspiracy. I'm not a conspiracy guy, like, by any means, but I think we've been duped and we've been fooled into this conspiracy called Christopher Nolan, right? The lie has been, or was until this movie, at least for me, that he was this big artist, uh, kind of like movie magic creator, right? You can still love him for like doing the classic Nolan things, right? Just well written scripts that they're not straightforward. You can also, like, what I praise the most about him is the physicality and the, how do you call it, like when a movie is organic, the organic nature. Is there a word like organicity, whatever, the organic nature of his movies, right? The practical effects, um, the camera use, everything about his movies are made to last, and you can tell to this point by some freak of nature his brand of artistry, sort of like movie making, is probably like the most mainstream, you could call like auteur. I mean, that's French, I think. Like the most prolific mainstream author of Hollywood, right? Making hits after hits after hits. Of course, you can trace all of this, or like his big breakthrough to Batman, right? Which is the way. I mean, that's a lie. I met him with Memento because I have a cousin that loved that movie. Like he was really into like more indie type. Is it sci-fi? It has some sci-fi elements, but like he was really into these indie type of movies, which were like Nolan's brand back then, right? But anyways, we jump years later, like we jump through Batman, The Prestige, like what else came in between, like you name it, right? Before he came to Interstellar, Inception, etc., etc. So, what is the conspiracy here that was revealed with Interstellar? I'm just gonna come out and say it. I think Nolan's strength has never been in the artistry, or like has never been into this. I wonder what he thinks about this. Like I'm not that good, like seeing interviews, and he's not really good at giving interviews. But I feel like, not so secretly, what he always wanted to do was to show like the most like cheesy type of human emotions, and I'm saying cheesy in the best way possible, right? He just really wanted to create these stories about human emotion and feelings, and like whatever you want to call them, right? And what was the problem with Interstellar? So, in a nutshell, for those who haven't seen Interstellar, this is sort of like a sci-fi, sort of. in between like apocalyptic and post-apocalyptic movie, where the plot has humans trying to escape Earth, right? They try to escape Earth, who is a dying planet, and for that they send people in spaceships like to another galaxies where like suitable planets for inhabitation reside, right? And for that they go through wormholes. So with that plot, you already can think how scientistic, well, scienty, that could be like a cute word. How more lean to the science side of science fiction this movie really is, right? There's no way of talking about faster than light travel without talking about time dilation, right? About well, what's the that's the big thing, right? Or like the technical sides of it. So when Interstellar came out, a lot of people, including me, were highly drawn to this plot, to this idea, right? Of having intergalactic, inter yeah, they go to another galaxy for sure. So it's intergalactic travel and like as I said, a lot of science instead of fiction, right? Like this really, how can you say it? Like a Star Trekky type of science fiction. Even though I could argue at the same time that Star Trek is goes through the same things as Nolan does, right? As I'm trying to say now. And I remember it clearly, like having this 50-50, 40-60 against and for the movie. And I will never forget the reactions that were deeply attached. And now we go entirely to spoiler territory, right? To all the third and final act of the movie and the end of the movie itself, right? As a reminder, um, eventually they reach these three type of like possible planets to inhabit it, right? And then they realize that the main scientist, which is played by the guy who plays Alfred, um, I will remember his name eventually, right? He lied. He convinced the main character played by Matthew McConaughey to go into this mission under the false impression that they would be having this great migration of humans, right? Right, they were gonna take as many humans as they could, and they were gonna take them off Earth. But turns out that wasn't the case. So he lied, and what he really wanted to do was to create a colony of humans with like inseminated eggs and like a bare minimum crew, and just leave the rest behind. And the reason for this was that he could not clear like the elements, the science elements, like of course these are fictional science elements required for the ship to go through the wormhole, like properly, like the big migration ship. So he lied, right? And he had to lie because he didn't have the data, the appropriate data to make this work, because you need data to create this science. For even if they are like fictional, you still need data inside the fictional world, right? And this data came from going through a wormhole, which is something that, as far as I know, we haven't done yet with like convincing results, right? Like in a nutshell, we can theorize what is on the other side of a black hole or wormhole, right? I don't even know if they're the same, but whatever. Like the gravity is so strong that not even light can go through, right? So everything is absorbed, so we don't know. So the point is, in the conclusion of the movie, in the climax, Matthew McConaughey's character goes with his ship through a black hole and experiences enough data, right, for his daughter back on Earth, um, played by Jessica Chastain, to actually crack the code, right? He sends him the data. And the way he sends her the data is where people just lost their minds. He travels through the black hole and he ends up in this, how do they call it, like fifth dimensional reality space, right? It's this construct of devoid of matter and including all time. It's like a bubble where every moment in time for this one place, which was his wife's study. So all moments of time of that place are present one in the same in one point of existence. So he uses this fifth dimensional space to talk to his daughter through different points of time and send her the necessary data for her to crack the way for the colony to travel through space. So, if you narrate or describe this as such, it's already not that bad, right? It could be a fun Star Trek episode, right? But here's where Nolan shows his true colors. There's one line in the movie that, for some reason, according to my experience, also made a lot of people lost their minds. This is a line delivered by Anne Hathaway's character, which she's part of the crew, like the original crew that goes with Matthew McConaughey to carry these embryos to the new colony, right? She didn't know either that in this case her dad's plan was to leave everybody else on Earth, right? So in one point on the movie, they are talking about what can transcend space and time, and she delivers the line. Now, depending how you look at it, maybe infamous, where she goes, "Perhaps it's only love, the one thing that could transcend the limits of space and time." That is the setup. This is like perhaps like halfway through the movie, right? So Nolan is introducing this idea, which comes so out of the blue that part of me can also understand not the anger, because I actually met people who were angered by it. Not the anger, but like the surprise, the apparent lack of seriousness on it, right? Like we are in this sci-fi-ish reality, like talking about wormholes and light speed and colonization, embryos, and then they drop the bomb. Perhaps it's love, what transcends space and time. That line sort of accompanies you through the movie, and when eventually you get to the final act, in one of the best scenes in the movie, which also became even a meme, Matthew McConaughey's daughter, finally, after several years of non-communication, sent him a video, right? And she sends him this video after, by some freak accident, they lost like 20 years in like half an hour, all because of time dilation, right? They stay in this planet for over like an hour or something, and that meant like 20 years on Earth. So when he receives these messages, he basically time jumps the life of his kids, who were the main reason he took the mission, right? So you start building the core element of this movie. A dad, a father, looking out for his family. And it suddenly hits you when you see Murph, as they call her in the movie, like just letting him know. I think I think she is telling him about the doctor or that lied, or the father-in-law passing or something like that. And I'll never forget this because, of course, I cried in the movies. She's gonna cut the video and she stops for a second. She looks back at the camera and she says, "All I really need to know is that you didn't abandon me, that you didn't left me here to die." Because she found out the truth, right? She found out the truth, but she never knew whether his dad knew the truth as well. So, as far as she knows, maybe he knew also, and like the relationship was so strange from that break. When she was a kid, had never thought that her dad would leave her. But 20 years have passed, and the idea is a possibility in her mind. And like she has no way of clearing that doubt. It's like when somebody you love dies and you left things without saying. Like imagine that frustration. And the setup here is brilliant because it's been 20 years for her. This doubt has grown on her. This lack of confidence and trust for her dad has grown into her. But to Matthew McConaughey's character, it hasn't been that long. He still has this original motivation to go into the depths of space for her, for his family. So when he looks at this video, like his heart breaks. And here is where like the setup and the writing is brilliant. Because not only the deliveries are great, but you can understand that. You can understand that. You can understand the fact that his heart is breaking because he just a couple of weeks ago left with this grand scheme and this grand idea of saving his kids, and now he sees them suffer for 20 years without them having, or without him being there to tell them that that is not the case, to hug them and then and tell them like, I did this for you, kids. And that is so like crossing all limits, right? It's transversal. Yeah, I think transversal exists in English. Like to fathers, to sons, to everybody that has something left to say. Like if I take this and I take it to this extreme science project type of narrative, right? It just hits harder. But going back to the main topic, what this movie reveals in Interstellar is not that everything that came before is not useful. It's not that, as I said at the beginning, that Nolan's type of organic filmmaking is like a sham or like a lie or anything. But to me, it's sort of like revealed that his movies are about this. Like they're not like about the brains, the cerebral thing, like, or like the complicated like shit that people often sees in them. And with this moment you start looking back and it starts making sense, right? Every movie in the end gets revealed under this new image. At least it was for me, right? Like seeing every one of his movies, well, except Tenet, which is like the one movie that I really couldn't see it. But all of his movies are about this. I don't want to say they're dumb, but this is like the opposite of mental. So what he basically does, I'm gonna use words that I don't necessarily mean, but they sound good. He fools you with intricate plots into sort of consuming his beautiful brand of humanity. Like all the way back to Memento, to Batman, to Inception. It's like I remember people saying like, "Oh, the mind-bending Inception, mind-bending movie," but under this prism like PRESM, yeah, right, yeah. Under this prism, Inception has nothing to do with like cerebral thing, right? It's also about a father that wants to come back to his kids, and you can see that every sort of climax in his movies, they follow the same pattern, right? In the Prestige, which is one of the more his more like thriller like movies, right? What was the point in the end? It was also about arrogance, right? About this primal human emotion, this envy and like jealousy. Like it's so soap opera like, because it is. And Dunkirk, like which is a long, drawn movie. I mean, it's not that I dislike it, but it's one of his most like how can you say, like, it's way too long. Basically, it's also about national identity, right, and human empathy. Like everything is so well hidden, and in the end, it seems that that is his greatest skill, to show all of these things behind a curtain of like meticulously like complex crafted storytelling and movie making. But in the end, this is so raw, this is so primal. And the problem with Interstellar was that the contrast was too good. I mean, too great, or too big, however you want to call it, right? So the plot doesn't necessarily crumbles at the climax of Interstellar, but it definitely shows you this. This is not a good a good word or a good way to describe it either. Like, bear with me. This sort of emotional manipulation, and the way he reveals it, it's too straightforward, it's too raw, and above all, it relies into a sort of knowledge that it would be restrictive indeed. What do I mean by this? We don't know, or perhaps somebody know who knows, I don't know. But as far as I know, we don't know to this level of certainty what happens when a human being goes through a wormhole or a black hole. We don't know because nobody has ever done it. Right? At least we know that. You can have a bunch of theories or like send probes or whatever, but like nobody, no one, none of us, no human being has even gone through that. And the revelations, restrictions, and plain old reality bending consequences of that, like, are no small matter. Like, if we actually knew what goes through there, it would be reality changing. That's the only way to put it. Like, if we ever know. But what is Nolan's proposal? He just chucks all of this out of the window, right? And I guess that is what pissed people off. Like, I don't owe you an explanation because I'm not writing a science paper, right? I don't owe you an explanation. What I'm gonna show you is my deep human desire of what could happen when you go through a wormhole. And the wording on the script, once Matthew McConaughey's character goes through here, to me, is like pinpoint, accurate, precise. So there is a bunch of talk about divinity and God, which comes naturally when we don't know something, right? So the movie sort of like balances these words carefully, really, really carefully. And to me, this is brilliant. Like the the script itself, it's not allegorical in any way. So they show you a huge metaphorical sort of like a thought imagination exercise in this fifth dimension, right? That goes through time and space, right? They set it up with the notion of love, which is something that is as ephemeral as it can get, right? They set it up with love. They put you into this fifth dimensional space, ignoring like the possible science of it. It just is. And in the end, they carefully never say like strictly like this type of god or like this type of divinity. What is the word McConaughey's character use? This is us. Like and the setup is great. Like they honestly like and straightforward ask the question like who made this? For what? Who gave us this possibility? And McConaughey's character is like he has this revelation like this is us. And here's where we sort of like go into Nolan's sort of like emotional poetry, right? So we are not restricted by science, right? And we are not necessarily based only the idea of love. But when the character says us, that goes deep. Because him saying us means that not that we are our own gods or anything, right? But he basically means that we owe us to ourselves. Like there's no, of course we haven't gone through a black hole or a wormhole, whatever. Like we haven't done all the things they do in the movie, but we owe the chance for betterment and improvement to ourselves. And here is something that I didn't get the first time I saw the movie, because this is a real American thing. The whole blight, I think they call it the blight. It's like a souls thing, right? The whole blight thing happening on Earth, and at the beginning of the movie, you see real segments of Ken Burns' the Dust Bowl documentary, right? A documentary about one of like the probably the biggest drought. Is it drought or drought? Well, but the drought that happened in the U.S. that created sandstorms and everything, and like the first time I see it, like I had no idea who Ken Burns was, right? But what is the purpose of showing you the Dust Bowl real people talking about those tragedies? What is the purpose, right? And the purpose is to keep it on Earth, to keep it human. I'm gonna take you into this interstellar trip about wormholes and everything, but it's just like just preparing you for this thing, this human thing that has absolutely no restriction to the fiction and fantasy of the rest of the movie. It's about us. It's about us. Like the guilt is us, right? Like Michael Caine. I remember Michael Caine characters giving up is us. Like Matthew McConaughey is not surrendering is us, right? The daughters, Murph, right? Life and emotions is us. And it seems that every Nolan movie gets into this perspective that like often if you feel it, or like if you go through his movies, these are the moments that hit you the hardest, even in like the most like ludicrous settings like Batman. Like, why is the Dark Knight so good? And if you think about it, I think a movie like The Dark Knight got sort of a free pass in judgment when it gets too cheesy, because probably people just went like, "Oh, these are comic book lines, right?" And I'm talking about um, the city is ready to show you that is ready to believe in good, right? I'm talking about that. I'm talking about those lines, right? I'm talking about this, um, the primal forces of good and evil, right? And like I'm talking, of course, about the end of the movie. Like I'm whatever Gotham needs me to be. The self-sacrifice of human for human needs, right? It's all there. It's all there, and I keep wondering why it went away for Interstellar. Like I even remember people criticizing Hans Zimmer's score, like, oh, like did he? I remember, I think it was on a trailer when they go, oh, he just fall on his organ or like synthesizer, so he just holds one note. But everything is intentional, right? And I don't know why this climax, this innocent even idea, just couldn't sit down with a lot of people that have been consuming Nolan's brand of cheesiness for like what, 20 years, right? And to me, it was so frustrating and so sad, because given the choice of believing, and as I said before, this is not about believing religion or like believing God or like believing, given the choice of believing that the power of our human real love could transcend space of time, given the choice, right? Why wouldn't you choose to believe it? And that is what sort of stuck with me through the whole existence of this movie since then till now. I think now it has gathered more respect and everything, like, but like I even remember hearing people calling it stupid, like that would never happen, etc., etc. But like, why wouldn't you want to believe it? And sort of like everything falls into place when you think about it. Like, if you choose not to believe that, why would you do it? Like, why would you be so arrogant to try of like look for the science where there is none, right? Or like for look for these revelations. How many astrophysicists, like closet pocket astro random physicists came out of this about this movie, and they're like, oh, like that's not how a wormhole works. That's not how time dilation works. I mean, you could say that perhaps Nolan flew through too close to the sun in an ideological way with this one, trying to piece all the scientists, right? But that was never the point. That was never the point. And when I saw this movie, like crying like a baby in the theaters, right? I I never forgot about it, because like even though I love science and I love science fiction, that is the reflection that we want to get from it, right? Like And if we go back to like the best type of science fiction that there is, like to me, like Star Trek, right? It's always about us. It's not about the aliens. It's not about the starships. It's not about the science nor the fiction part of science fiction. It's always about us. But for some reason, people find it, I don't know, interesting, justified, alluring to draw a line in the sand or in the dust as they do in the movie and say like, oh no, this makes no sense. Like, oh, he delivers the message through like a binary, by leaving like lines in the dust. Like that is so stupid. Like, why would you focus on that? Why wouldn't you focus on a father whose uh, emotional strain has become so much that he did like the biggest sacrifice and he went head first into a black hole for the sake of his family? Why do we sometimes have so much trouble accepting like this sort of like good intentions, like well meant kind of like emotional proposals? I don't know. Perhaps it's because when we get into the like really cheesy situations like soap opera, like telenovela type of shit, like it is ridiculous. Like it is like, oh, like you slept with I don't know who and I don't know why. Okay, it's just a different side of the spectrum of human emotions. And of course we get so used to it that we are like cynical about it, like jaded. I like that word. Like we just see that and like, oh yeah, yeah, that's how it is. It's just some soap opera shit, right? It's like cheesy, yeah. But this is just as cheesy. Just it has a different mask, like a 2.5 hour of uh, perfectionist movie maker mask with like organic special effects and awesome music and like blah 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 blah, right? But a mask nonetheless. And what ends up being revealed is just how we choose to approach stories, humanity, emotions. As Elaine would say in that other great work of art called Seinfeld, it wasn't my nipple that got shown, it's the nipple on your souls. It's you that have been revealed when you think this is it's not worth it, right? It's you. Why would you choose that? Take a look at the mirror and wonder. Because, I don't know, perhaps the answer would be healthy and helpful for you. So, to recap, Interstellar, I love it. It's one of the best movies ever for me, one of the best of Nolan's work. An eye opener on his sneaky craftiness of a sneaky crafty brand of cheesiness that I come to love, all the way to what his latest Oppenheimer. I should talk about Oppenheimer, but like I'm like one day I would do it. One of the greatest movie makers of our time because he basically has the presence of mind and creativity to show us these, as I said, telenovela type of cheesiness stories, but like with the most awesome, incredible, and enjoyable package over it. That if you choose to ignore the caramel center and just focus on the nice wrapping, you are missing more than half of what he's trying to say. And what he's trying to say, more often than not, is just heartwarming, fulfilling, and like wonderful. That's why we go to the movies, right? At least I know I do. Anyways, that's another week for me. Um, watch it. Go watch Interstellar again and try not to cry with McConaughey's performance, right? He even goes back in the end. He does two leaps of faith later when he goes back for Anne Hathaway's character, right? What does the daughter says? Like, I already lived my life. You still have something else to give, right? She's alone in that planet. Her faith in humanity is hanging by a thread, just as mine was, right? That is what basically she's saying. You restored it through space and time with your love. Would you do it again? And of course, McConaughey says like, all right. No, he doesn't say like, and I can't imitate him. But he says, of course I would do it again. For a fellow human being, of course I would do it again. Travel space and time for love. Right? I know I would do it if I had the chance. But for now, I'm just gonna cut. Thank you all for listening, and see you next time.